From the alley-oops at Keyshaw to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we continue our breakdown session of positions. And this one is all about the safeties, the guys in the back of the defense.
Yes, the guys who have to hold up the back end, because as we saw in the Super Bowl, sometimes those deep plays and big plays can happen, and we need these guys to be tip-top, top-notch. So before we get into this, though, make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button as well, and that notification bell. That way you're notified for every one of these breakdowns, every one of our cutback chats, just pretty much all the content that comes out on this channel, because we got it coming to you daily at 11 a.m., live streams at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time on Fridays. You're not going to want to miss any of this great content. And Ant, let's get into this thing, because we do have a nice handful of safeties to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options for the 49ers. They returned Jaquiski Tartt, who they brought back in free agency. They got Jimmy Ward. Then they also brought in some guys through the draft and free agency. Tarvarius Moore is not going to be on the roster, so we're not going to be talking about him. Well, he's on the roster, but he's hurt. But we are going to be talking about the guys they brought in. Talanoa Hufanga, they brought in through the draft. But then they have brought in free agents as well, Tavon Wilson and Tony Jefferson. So those are guys who are going to be options that we can definitely talk about. They also have Jared Maiden, a holdover from last year as an undrafted free agent. So 49ers have options at the safety position that can do a lot of different things, and it's going to be fun to talk about.
Absolutely. And the first game we're going to start with, and again, we've said this in the wide receiver video, don't pay any mind to order that they're in.
Correct.
We're just going over these guys, and we got the film to back it. But the first guy with film, Jimmy Ward.
Jimmy Ward is a fantastic player. I mean, he is, and he can do so much. I think he gives the most flexibility of any safety right now the 49ers have on the roster. The fact that he can play the deep third, he can play in the box, or you can play him in the nickel, and he can go ahead and cover a slot receiver. Those are things that not all safeties can do, but he can do it. He's very confident, he takes good angles, and he's a pretty good tackler. Where we have the issues is the times that he's injured. When he's not injured, he's on the field, he's making plays. The one thing that he also needs to improve is he needs to cause more turnovers. I thought last year there was a little bit of an uptick in that. It seemed like he was around the ball more, which is awesome. But he hasn't had a steady tandem to work with either. Tartt is always hurt. Tarvarius Moore was up and down as far as production last year. So he's going to need that. But I do like the flexibility they can do with him, and I think DeMeco Ryans is going to be able to use him in a lot of different ways. I want to see Jimmy Ward blitzing the quarterback more. And I want to see some more cool stuff with him. So that is something I'm interested in watching DeMeco Ryans do this year.
He's especially in zone coverage. This guy he's a wizard. He's very good at keeping himself hidden, keeping himself, not giving away where he's supposed to be in coverage. This is a perfect example of it there. He was sitting middle third of the field, hooked a curl right in the middle of the field, and jumps out towards the hash marks there on the side, and closes this window down so that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have an opportunity to make a play. He has shown, too, much improvement in man coverage. This one against Cooper Kupp is a perfect example of that. This is one of my big knocks on him when he first came in the league, especially when they stuck him on the outside.
Corner, yeah.
As a corner, he struggled heavily on the outside trying to guard guys one-on-one in space. He is much improved, and he's much better in the slot than he is as an outside guy. And so the move to safety for him has actually been a godsend for his career and for his talents. And I agree with you on the upticks and turnovers. I think that's the big knock. You hear Thanos talk about it all the time, right? This guy doesn't do enough. He doesn't cause enough turnovers. He's never in the right spots. I disagree with that aspect of it. I feel he is in the right spots.
Yeah.
He just hasn't completed those plays. There's been plenty of times where the ball's hit him in the hands, he's dropped it, or he's bobbled it a couple times. And that's part of the reason why he's a defender and not a receiver or a running back, is because he doesn't have the sure hands to make him an elite running back or an elite type of receiver in terms of catching the ball in space. That's why he fits better as a defensive sort of player. But the IQ on Jimmy Ward has been showing year in and year out. He is getting better at being in the right spots.
Yeah.
Both the clips we have on here of him against the Rams are situations where he recognizes and diagnoses one of them, Goff scrambling and coming up on Goff, not giving him enough time to slide and Goff having to eat a hit, which turns into a fumble. And the other one, him coming off of an over the middle route to come down on the check down for the running back. He notices the running back slip out after his blocking, Running back checks C gap, checks B gap, checks A, and then releases to try and do a little hitch route, a little curl route right over the middle. Goff goes to dump it off, and Jimmy Ward comes off of his guy in his zone to make the play and actually force another fumble. He has shown that he can create turnovers. He just needs to complete and finish more plays.
There's also no time that I feel uncomfortable with him being on the field, right? If he's covered in the deep third, I'm comfortable. If he's in the box, comfortable. The slot, comfortable. If he's up there trying to stop a screen pass, I feel comfortable with it. So he's one of those guys that's kind of a jack of all trades that can do it all. The one thing he's developed is instead of just being a good at some of these things, he's becoming really good at some of them. And that is what's going to show up this year especially. Now we're going to have the added pass rush again. That's really going to help, the time that these guys have to cover, and it's going to make him better. He's a good matchup for tight ends as far as he can handle tight ends because he's got long arms. So he's got a lot of reach that he's able to get on these guys and stick on them, enough speed to do so. So I like him and everything he can do, and he can really help in the run game. So I like Jimmy Ward on this team, and I like what he's able to do and the capabilities that he has in this defense. So I look forward to watching him this year. I think he's going to be steady, and as long as he stays healthy, I think the turnover is going to have an uptick, and he's going to cause a lot of issues that he hasn't caused in the past, and maybe he'll get some recognition as a possible Pro Bowl type player.
The turnovers are the big thing, right? That's
Yeah.
that stat number has to go up if he ever wants those Pro Bowl type nods and people to look at him that way. Very well could be the case this year. And as a 49er fan, we both are, and as the faithful will tell you, and the Cutback crew, we want this.
We definitely do.
We want a Pro Bowl Jimmy Ward season. Take care of it, Jimmy. And the next guy, his running mate, Jaquiski Tart, for the last few seasons. This is a guy who's just been plagued by probably more injuries than Ward has.
He has. He can't stay on the field. And that is the biggest concern with Tart. Tart's, as far as coverage, he's actually better numbers-wise than Tarvarius Moore was, and you wouldn't think that. He can play in the box, but he can also play the deep third. I think there is a little bit of weakness in the coverage area compared to a Jimmy Ward. I don't think he's as successful there, but he is a very good run defender. And when he's in the box and around the line of scrimmage, he makes plays and it causes issues. I like this guy a lot, and I think that if he's healthy, the 49ers have a very good duo in the back end of their defense that can do a lot of things, and they have a lot of flexibility. Not as much flexibility as you would have with a Moore and Ward, which we like because they could kind of move them around a lot. But with these, you have more of a defined role of Jimmy Ward's a free safety, Jaquiski Tart's a strong safety, but they fit really nice with what they want to do. He's also very good at blitzing. You can bring him off the edge. So there's a lot of good things DeMeco Ryans can do with them. Another guy I feel comfortable covering tight ends. I don't want it consistently as man coverage him on a tight end. I think that's a bad matchup for us. But from time to time, it's okay. He's able to play physical with these guys, and he's able to stick on them. So I like him. But once again, another guy that needs to create more turnovers.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And that's been part of that for Tart, though, has been not being able to be on the field. Because there's been seasons and times where he's starting to put together a nice little run, a nice little stretch of turnovers or at least pass breakups and making big hits and big plays. And then he'll put his body out there and try and lay a big hit on somebody and knock himself out of a game. Or, and then ending up putting himself on the sideline for a couple of weeks. And it's just not good. It's not good for this defense. It's not good for Jimmy Ward either, because then sometimes Jimmy Ward has to slide over, or Jimmy Ward is now being asked to do more things in one direction than you would want him to do, because like you said, he's more of a jack of all trades. You can have him do a variety of different things. And Tart's big issue for me has been coverage, but he does show flashes. This play, for example, is one of them against Cam Newton, before Cam Newton had all the injuries piling up, in which he just goes up in space and makes a play. Reads it beautifully, recovers great because he stumbled a little bit at the top of that route. Whether or not that was him trying to bait Cam into throwing the one-on-one shot, or whether he was ready for it, I don't know. But he's able to recover in space and get there in time to make the play. And Tart has shown that he can do a lot of different things as well. This is why I like this Tart-Ward pairing with DeMeco Ryans, is because both of them have the capability to be able to get in and be blitzing guys and play in the box and do a variety of different things with them. It gives DeMeco Ryans flavors, right? He's basking 31 flavors over here, calling this defense, running the ice cream shop that is the 49ers defense. I guess the cool boys in this analogy, not the hot boys. But no one's going to come to your ice cream shop if you got two flavors. If you got Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, those are two really great flavors, and people might come there for those two flavors. But at some point, you get sick of those flavors, or you figure out, there's other things that you can do. Teams that are watching the 49ers, if that's all you have, those are your pass rushing threat is coming from one side. You just got to find a way to get a double team up to second level to slow down Fred Warner, and we can run the ball effectively and efficiently. If that's all you have, it becomes very difficult as a defensive coordinator to scheme up ways to free these guys up.
Yeah.
When you have all of these extra pieces, you have the Wards and the Tarts of the world who can blitz from a variety of different ways and from a variety of different places. You can stick them in man. You can stick them in zone, right? You can mix up your defense in a variety of ways. It becomes a lot easier to single up or free up guys to be able to shine. And DeMeco Ryans has a lot of tools and a lot of pieces that can shine.
And they have a lot of chemistry, Ward and Tart. They played together for a lot of years, so they know what each other's doing, what each other's strengths, what each other's weaknesses are. So keeping these guys as a pair makes a lot of sense because they're going to know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Plus, they've played in this defense now for a few years. They understand the ins and the outs. They know what they're supposed to do in every coverage, in every look, in every shell. They know where they're supposed to be. And that kind of stuff, you can't put a value on that. That is something that is going to give these guys a leg up on everyone else, and it's something that's going to help the 49ers defense in general. You're looking at a secondary that's going to have players that have played in this system for 3 years now, all across the board. Jimmy Ward the longest, but, Tart, Verrett, and Mosley all having time playing in the system. And you just can't put value on that because it's going to be so important for these guys knowing what they're supposed to be doing. And now you have that all across the board if you really look at this defense. You have veterans to the 49ers all across the board. That means that they can do a lot of cool stuff. They understand where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to do, and they're going to get it done. And I think if Tart is healthy, he will make a lot of money next year because there are needs for safeties and strong safeties to do what he can do, but he can't stay healthy. And why would you pay a guy a big amount of money if he can't stay on the field? And he's not just a blitzer. He's somebody that can do a lot of things. So he could have more value than a certain Seattle safety.
Freaking shade being thrown all over the sea chickens. I love it.
Well, they call him safety, but he plays the end.
Man, basically.
Kinlaw had more interceptions than him.
It's very true. And more touchdowns. Big yikes. Big yikes, J.A. Big yikes. The next guy, though, TJ, Tony Jefferson, who we just signed and brought in. This is a guy who the more I watch film of him, the more I see why they brought him in. Because DeMeco Ryans, if he's going to start getting really aggressive, this one right here, for example, is a perfect example of it. Bringing him all the way down from bottom third to be kind of just like a spy in a late blitz there on Mariota to get the big sack. Those are the type of things that he can bring to the table and add because you can do a lot of different things with him. You can use him as a spy, right? And we talked about this with Mahomes in the Super Bowl, Tarvarius Moore, right? With Tarvarius Moore going down, this is a guy who has experience playing this type of role, playing these types of things, and playing against those type of quarterbacks out there in the AFC because he was seeing that a lot. And again, when you're in practice, when he was with the Baltimore Ravens, they had just gotten a young Lamar Jackson. So he got to see a lot of this when he was in Baltimore before the injury. This guy's going to be ready to handle these type of mobile quarterbacks that are taking over the league and that are very prevalent in the NFC West. This guy could be the perfect signing. I know that they signed him after Tarvarius Moore got hurt, but it's almost like they had a premonition that something might happen and brought this guy in because they knew, number one, he could push for that last safety spot, but number two, he fits everything DeMeco Ryans is going to want to do with his safeties.
They actually signed him the morning before Tarvarius Moore got hurt.
It's like they knew.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy that they brought him in for a specific reason. And watching these clips, I mean, it shows he's a playmaker. He makes things happen. He goes ahead and he strips the ball. He makes interceptions. He gets sacks.
Sets the edge against the run.
He does. He does all the things that you need a safety to do in this league. And what I like about him is he's very equivalent to Tart. They're going to have one heck of a battle because they're not that far off. You've seen Tart causing turnovers in 2019. Jefferson caused turnovers in 2019. If you put these guys on the same level, these guys are going to have one heck of a battle, and we might be really happy with 1A and 1B here because Jefferson is a very skilled player. I'm curious who ends up winning it out. I would say Tart has to have the advantage because he knows the system a little bit, but Jefferson has a great film, and he's played well over the years. I think he's a solid player. I like his physicality, especially in the box against the run. I like it that he blitzes very well. And notice what we've talked about a lot about the safeties already, is they're good blitzers. So DeMeco Ryans and this 49er, they know what DeMeco Ryans is going to do, right? This front office, they know, and they're going out and getting players that do what he wants to do. This guy is in a mold, a strong safety mold of Tart, but he stays healthy for the most part. He did get hurt that year with the ACL, but I don't think I'm going to hold that against him because
it's one injury.
It's one injury, and it's just a big one where Tart has had several. And in 2019, if Tart would have been 100% in the playoffs, it could have been huge for us. But I think Jefferson's going to add a lot to this team, especially in depth, because I think he's a better option than like we had last year with Marcel Harris. Now, if Jaquiski Tartt goes down, we know we have a viable option to come in. And I think this guy's going to push Tart for the starting job, too.
I agree with you there. I 100% agree with you there. I feel that that's the case for Mr. Tony Jefferson. I feel that his best days aren't necessarily behind him, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on this signing. I really do. I feel this could be a huge impact for the 49ers, whether or not it's him starting or whether or not he's the insurance policy for the safety room. I feel he's going to have a big impact.
I think last year, too, we thought that they were going to go more of a hybrid role at safety where they could do either thing. And we've noticed they've went to more of a defined role again, right? They brought back Tart, and then now they brought in Jefferson. These are strong safeties. So when you're looking at that, we were thinking maybe Moore and Ward playing together gives you that hybrid look where both can play in the box. Well, yes, they can still do that, but it is more defined this time. We're not going to see as much of Jefferson covering the deep third. You'll see it sometimes. You won't see as much of Tart covering the deep third. You'll see it sometimes. So I think the 49ers, DeMeco Ryans, do want defined roles for the safeties, which wasn't always clear last year. So I think maybe they have figured something out that they want to do defensively.
100%. Another free agent sign they brought in, Mr. Tavon Wilson.
Yeah, this is a fun guy to watch.
It is. I mean, he does a lot of things great. And I feel there's a lot of knock on him. I've heard some people talk about, he didn't create turnovers a lot. I watched some of that film, man, and this guy's all over the place. He is literally all over the place where the ball is, making big hits. This one against Dalvin Cook here to free up the ball in space. He reminds me so much of what Tart and Ward add to this secondary. It doesn't surprise me that this is a guy that they brought in. Some of his better clips are not in Detroit, but when he is in New England, when he's playing for the Patriots, when he was a little bit of a younger man. He is a little on the older side, right? He's a seasoned vet. But this is going to make it really hard for a guy like Marcel Harris to make this roster because this guy has seen it all. He has literally seen it all in this league. He knows how to win championships. He knows what it takes to prepare. And I'll tell you what, I feel a lot better about our defense and our secondary if this is the guy that's playing that Marcel Harris type role there, if he's that last-ditch guy there behind. The real question is that the Niners have shown that they had a lot of, I don't know if they had a lot of faith in Marcel Harris, but Marcel Harris was able to beat out Cyprien last year. I feel this guy has a lot more in the tank, or a little bit more in the tank than Cyprien does. Can he get over that hump?
This guy's a little bit different in the fact that I think he's more in a free safety mold.
Yes.
So I think that he's really nice as far as a fit behind Jimmy Ward. So Jimmy Ward's in there. Jimmy Ward needs to come out. You put in Wilson, you're good. The question is going to be, though, is because I see this guy doing a lot of things in coverage, is what is going to happen with this? Because normally a team keeps 4 safeties. They don't normally get too many. So you're going to have a big question here because we've already talked about Tony Jefferson. And I think we both believe he's going to make this team.
If not push for a starting job.
Yeah, if not push for a starting job. And then you have Jimmy Ward, you have Jaquiski Tartt. So barring an injury, you have 3 guys. Then you have Tavon Wilson. And the 49ers made other moves as well, bringing in a draft pick as well. So Wilson he shouldn't, but he has an uphill climb to make this roster because he's got to go play out. Now, the one thing I will say is that right there, an open tackle, open field tackle, is not easy to do, especially from the safety position on a running back that's running full speed that got through a hole and was not even touched. So that is great. Open field tackling is something that we need our safeties to do. Jimmy Ward does it well. Tart does it pretty good. And Tony Jefferson does it really well. So we definitely see maybe an emphasis on that. The one area I will say is this guy is definitely better in coverage than, say, like a Jaquiski Tartt.
Yes.
And even a little bit better than Tony Jefferson. He's better in coverage, so that's why the free safety thing makes sense. He could play the deep third, and I wouldn't be concerned. I would like to see him play in the box some, but if you ran him and Ward together, you would see more of the hybrid role.
Oh, 100% would. You definitely would. And Tavon Wilson adds a lot of things, but Tavon Wilson on this roster also adds a butt ton of questions, right? Are you really going to go with 4 wily vets? Are you really going to go with these guys?
Yeah.
Or are you going to go with a guy like Marcel Harris? And we didn't pull film clips of Marcel Harris, and the reason we didn't pull film clips of Marcel Harris, I'm not necessarily convinced he's going to be in this room.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of space. There's not a lot of things that Marcel Harris does really, really well that these other guys that we've talked about already don't do as good, if not better.
Well, the liability for Marcel Harris is in coverage.
Absolutely.
It's an extreme liability. It's worse than Tart. It's worse than Tony Jefferson. So right away he's behind them. You add in the fact that they really went to a hybrid role of playing him in the nickel. So if they thought that he was really going to be that guy, because I do think they're going to look for the hybrid role for some of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
If they really thought he was the answer there, they wouldn't have been making these corresponding moves that they made.
Well, they also wouldn't have drafted the gentleman they drafted.
That's exactly where I was going. Talanoa Hufanga is Marcel Harris a better version. He is big, physical, plays around the ball, the line of scrimmage. As far as the safety, is big and physical. But once again, lacks a little bit in the coverage, especially in the deep third. So another pigeonholed strong safety guy. He can't play free safety, but he can operate and execute very well around the line of scrimmage and in the box. So is he going to be a hybrid role, or is he just going to play, the strong safety role? If there is, there's no guarantee Talanoa Hufanga can beat out Tony Jefferson.
There's a lot of 49ers fans who are just straight up, Talanoa Hufanga is the dude right away. He's going to start. He's the other safe. And it's like,
100% he will not start.
There's no way he starts, and I don't see him getting getting significant playing time this year. Barring injury, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, he's a special teams guy this year that they're hoping to develop into something next year. Especially, you got Jefferson on a 1-year deal. You got Jaquiski Tartt on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, Tavon Wilson on a 1-year deal.
You bring in Hufanga, and now Hufanga can slide in to the Jaquiski Tartt role in the future. That is maybe what you're looking at. So that doesn't make sense. It also would make sense, though, if they plan on moving him to a linebacker or something. Also, I wonder if Marcel Harris ends up taking some snaps at linebacker.
Very well could be the case.
But they got linebackers too. So this is going to be a good question how they do it. I know we've teased the idea of them, moving some guys around and making room on this roster, but keeping 5 safeties, that might be difficult to do. So it's going to be,
especially with the other positions we have. Unless Kyle Shanahan's only going with 2 quarterbacks this year and he's not keeping a third on the roster, which would be a first for Kyle Shanahan. I don't see how they're keeping 5.
I'd be okay with them keeping 2 quarterbacks. I think you look at it and you're just like, you know what? If we go through 2, we're done anyways. We might as well just go with it. And if we lose those 2, we're going to lose. Because that way you can keep other talented players on this roster.
I think that's the best approach. Will Kyle Shanahan deviate away from his traditional mold? He very well could.
I think he was in love with Mullins and Beathard. He really liked them. He's definitely not in love with Josh Rosen and Sudfeld. There's nothing to make you think he loves these guys. He brought him in.
Not if you talk to Thanos.
Well, you brought him in. You're going to compete, but there definitely could be an extra roster spot there. But you don't know what position they want to use it on.
Receiver, running back,
could be. And that's the thing. Usually, when you remove one offensive player, you're replacing it with another offensive player.
Exactly.
So 6 receivers, 7 receivers, something like that. They're already going to keep 9 linemen. So it's going to be an interesting question. Now, the characteristics and traits that these safeties have are definitely more defined. We've brought that up. There is a hybrid role possibility.
100%.
And I think there's a chance 5 guys could actually make this roster from the safety position. And Tavon Wilson, I think people are kind of sleeping on a little bit. He's got a little bit more skills than people want to give him credit for. He fits the scheme of what the 49ers want to do, especially with the fact they're going to play quarters and all that. You're going to need a safety that's really good in coverage. You want to be able to play, some of these guys, at different spots. So you might have to pull Tartt Jefferson off the field at times in these coverage situations. That's why we kept bringing up maybe Richard Sherman was an option, because you could play him in the safety role next to, Jimmy Ward in some of these situations. So there is a little bit of, I guess, room to figure out what exactly is going to happen in these rooms, but they've definitely kind of given us a hint at what they're looking for.
Absolutely. And look, I know you're sitting here right now going, but what about the undrafted guys, Justin Hilliard? We've heard you talk about them before. It's just going to be really, really hard for the Justin Hilliards of the world at the linebacking core group to be able to make this roster, especially when you got guys like Hufanga who can do both things potentially, Marcel Harris who could do both things potentially as well. It becomes really hard for some of these undrafted guys and undrafted names like the Hilliards of the world at the linebacking spot, and a guy that's coming off of the practice squad last year in a holdover, Jared Maiden, another safety name for the 49ers. It's going to be really hard for a guy like this to be able to crack this group because he's got 4 vets in front of him with a lot of experience and a lot of talent. And not to mention the guy they just spent a 5th-round draft pick on, who fits that kind of hybrid niche mold that they're looking for with the safeties.
Yeah, I think with this guy, you're really thinking about a guy that can play. Maiden can play in the slot. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. There's the flexibility you have with Jimmy Ward. That's what Maiden has, but he was undrafted. And he came out of Alabama, so it's not like he didn't have a bunch of eyes on him and what he was able to do. Now, I did like his film compared to some of the other safeties that got drafted in that draft. So do I think Maiden is an NFL potential player? Yes, he is. And preseason could mean a lot to him. And these safeties are going to get a lot of playing time. I think that not having preseason last year actually hurt Jonathan Cyprien, because when Cyprien came up from the practice squad and played in games, he looked good until he got injured.
Yeah.
So I
he
think
looked really good.
Yeah, I think Maiden would have an opportunity. So we'll see how he does, but it's an uphill climb as an undrafted free agent in an absolutely deep room. I mean, this room is very deep. They did a good job of insulating themselves in case Ward or Tart get hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine Jared Maiden on pretty much any other roster in the league. He'd have an opportunity, because a lot of these other secondaries, especially really great teams in the NFL, some of these secondaries are a little suspect for what they have in their room. Jared Maiden would have an opportunity to compete. This team, this roster, the pieces they have, the pieces they've brought back, the pieces they've added on, it's going to be tough. The 49ers made the most of the COVID 2020 season and the salary cap going down. They went out and found the right pieces and the right guys to come in and take one-year deals for a short term to try and prove that they still got it so they can go get a big paycheck on a great team to bolster their already fantastic roster. Young guys, it's going to be very tough to make this roster, but if they do, I mean, that's not just kudos to them. It may show that the 49ers have something with these young guys. If these young guys are breaking onto the scene and playing a lot of snaps very early on, they may be special.
I think Tart coming back was a huge surprise.
Absolutely.
They didn't see that coming. They didn't think they were going to have an opportunity to bring this guy back, and they did. And ever since then, they've made strategic moves. A lot of people talking bad about Jefferson coming in because he's been injured. But who wouldn't want to sign a guy that has huge potential that's coming off an injury for a very cheap contract? I mean, he's making nothing. I mean, basically, for what the 49ers need. This guy is a huge upgrade behind. He's I don't think people realize how much tremendously better he is than Marcel Harris.
A lot.
And and Marcel Harris is a very good player as far as the fact that he hustles and he plays good on special teams. But he's a absolute liability in coverage. And I think that can't be understated, is that we improved that position so much. This scouting group and John Lynch went out there and made sure they strategically got guys that fit what this defense needs and what they want. They're all scheme fits. Every time that they bring in a player, sometimes people are like, oh, I don't even know who that guy is, or this and that. They're scheme fits. And when you get a guy that fits good in the scheme and fits good with what you're going to do, they have an opportunity to be successful. The 49ers give everyone an opportunity to be successful. But this is going to be a fun room to watch. I don't know how many people get excited about the safeties. I guess I get excited about every position, so I'm okay with it.
We just get excited about football. I mean, just football. On this channel, it's just football, specifically 49ers football, but football in general. We just love the sport. We love everything that you can do with the pieces that you have on the field. That's why you're the chess master, ain't?
Yeah,
I
guess
why you're
so.
The chess master.
I just love it. I'm a junkie. I'm a junkie. If if there was no football going on, I'd find, if we weren't doing this, I'd find some way to watch football. I used to just watch NFL Network. I'd turn on the TV every single day. NFL Network was on. Go to bed, turn it on TV. NFL Network is on. It's just what it's about, man. And I do love all the X's and O's, and I do love evaluating all the players. It's just something I've always enjoyed, probably since I was a young teenager there.
You have no idea how much Ant's life's changed since football on your phone became a thing.
Football on your phone.
Football on your phone. All right, that's good. Football on your phone. We're right here on your phone probably as well. 49ers Cutback. Let us know what you thought about this safety breakdown down below in the comment section right now. Do you like this safety room? Do you agree with us? It's pretty solid. It's pretty deep. People are sleeping on Wilson. People are sleeping on Jefferson, and they need to wake up. Or do you disagree with us? This safety room is in shambles. We have no chance, no choice. 49ers are going 6 and what is it, 11? I saw someone say that in a Facebook group today. The Niners are going 6-11. Everyone needs to be realistic and wake up. Everyone's living in a fantasy world. Let us know what you think. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. And check out the 49ers Cutback merch store.
Yeah, check it out. It's awesome. You go ahead and get your 49ers Cutback merch. You can get Cutback Crew merch. Or you can go ahead and get other accessories or 49ers inspired gear that you may enjoy. So go over there, peruse, check it out, buy something, and let everyone know that you are a fan of the 49ers Cutback or you are part of the Cutback crew. We'd love to see those pictures as well.
1,000+ of you. We love all of you. We want to see all of that Cutback crew merch and just 49ers Cutback merch in general out there in the world. So make sure you share it with us, like it, send it to us on Facebook, send it to us on Twitter, send it to us on Instagram. We're on all those platforms. You can find us at 49ers Cutback. And until next time, 49ers fan and the Cutback crew, you stay safe.
Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.